Hola, bom dia. Carl Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal live stream YouTube channel and podcast. Jimmy Choo, the studio puppy, is snoozing gently behind me, so maybe we need to keep the noise down. But a very good morning to you. Hola, bom dia to you. Tudo bem? Como está? Wherever you are on your Portuguese adventure, whether you're looking to be here. I'm in the Aveiro district of Portugal, as you can see. Whether you're here in Portugal already or whether you want to make your way here, we are here to help you. Expats, explorers, immigrants alike. Do let us know what you need to know, because that's what this is all about here on the Good Morning Portugal live stream. We start with weather. So let me just do that. And of course, welcoming your comments throughout the show. Just pop a comment as you would in any way on a timeline or a post in Facebook, and then I can pop it on the screen. That's how it works here with the Good Morning Portugal community. Lots to squeeze in today because there's all sorts going on. Been furiously scribbling notes on the studio desk here, which I share with my wife, Mrs. M. She'll be furious. But I think it will come off. It wasn't written in Sharpie, fortunately. The weather today, then, we tend to look at Lisbon, Porto, Coimbra, and Faro each day. If you want to know the weather elsewhere, do let me know. Very happy to look at weather in other parts of the country. And of course, the Good Morning Portugal community chip in with their weather reports where they are locally. The starter screen you saw this morning was Owen Lloyd-Martins, the man who suggested the Portuguese food tour, which I really think we should look into, but more about that later. The starter screen was him and his shot. He was very lucky, I think, to catch a couple of hoopoes there. Beautiful birds that you'll see in Portugal from time to time. And I believe this is the season for them. And as ever, if you have a lovely Good Morning Portugal and Hola Bon Dia photograph shot of where you are, taken early in the morning, or of something unusual like the hoopoe birds that Owen sent in there, do please send them to me and any other correspondence to carl@carlmunson.com. Would be great to hear from you. 20 degrees in Lisbon at the moment, rising to 31 today. In Porto, we're looking at 20 at the moment, rising to 25 degrees today. The weekend's looking good, actually, for Lisbon, also for Porto, although slightly cloudy on Sunday. Excuse me. Coimbra, 33 degrees the high today to look forward to. I tend to get that weather here where I am, some way between Aveiro and Coimbra. 18 degrees at the moment. Certainly feels that way. Let me look at the studio thermometer. Yeah, just getting up to 23 degrees in and out of the studio. And in Faro, finally, 28 degrees to look forward to today. Fine weekend of 30 degrees, both Saturday and Sunday forecast. Currently 24 down there in the south in Faro. So also a quick look at the weather, but let's see who's here already today. Joe Johnson. Tuned in from somewhere else today, are we, Joe? Good morning to you. Bon dia to you as well. Bon dia, Carl, from Shelley Lowry as well. Good morning to you, Shelley. Still lovely in Cascais. I suspect it will always be lovely in Cascais, right? Hence its popularity. And yes, it's such a lovely place. So good morning to you. Hola, bon dia to you, Shelley. And to Kez, Ola from the Faro area. Good morning to you, Kez, as well. Still having a great time down there, I suspect, as well. Let me look to the news now, the English-speaking news sources in Portugal, and the Portugal resident, and of course the terrible situation in Beirut. And I mentioned this. I mean, this is more the sort of thing we will discuss on the Good Evening Portugal show, which is more of a sort of phone-in and discussion, and we'll tackle some of the, the bigger, darker stories around. I'd like to keep it a bit light and positive in the morning, ideally, but this is worthy of mention, I think, of course, because it is so devastating and such a huge event on the world stage. And here, because the Portuguese diaspora, again, Portuguese people are all over the world. They're an incredible race of people who are incredible history of emigration and exploration around the world, obviously. And here, even in Beirut, there are 50 Portuguese people, fortunately, just one minor injury among them. So all well and good, the Portuguese community over there in Beirut. Portuguese citizens, according to Natasha Don. Good morning to you, Natasha. It'd be lovely to meet you one day. This article from the 5th of August on PortugalResident.com. Portuguese residents in Beirut woke up to scenes of utter devastation today after one of the greatest blasts in history. Say reports the explosion of what appears to have been ammonium nitrate stored in a warehouse in the port's area was on a scale of the World War II nuclear bombs that fell on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Miraculously, it appears not to have caused the deaths of any Portuguese in the city and lightly injured only one. But Portuguese photojournalist João Sousa told Radio Renascença that no one believes this was an accident, and the population doesn't have any confidence in the government or the political class, he said, stressing that in the last few months, people have heard a lot of talk about the possibility of an attack. So really grim, isn't it, over there in Beirut at the moment, in Lebanon. And good to hear that the Portuguese community safe and well as they can be, amid that utter devastation and just one minor injury. We'll probably talk more about that tonight after our wine club on the Good Evening Portugal show. So I'll go back actually just to skim the news stories on the Portugal resident this morning and have a little sip of tea as well. Excuse me. Still a sucker for the English breakfast tea. Lidl, my favoured purveyor at the moment. And let's have a look at some more at the Portugal resident here. Algarve shines bright in Best of the Best in Portugal Awards, of course, which we covered earlier on in the week. The president has been the marvellous president of Portugal. We love him here on the show. In there with one of his Mar selfies, I think they're called, President Marcelo, as he's known, and one of his Mar selfies. And when those people in that picture there show their kids one day the time the president visited the Algarve to give them a bit of moral support, the kids will say, "Was that really you, Mum or Dad, behind the mask?" It's so hard to tell, isn't it? You know, the most stunning photographs I think of from the past often are from the 70s, aren't they? Where people sort of dressed very differently and very outrageously. And those are some of the best photographs in family albums in the 70s. But I'm sure if we fast forward to looking back on the 2020s, to these crazy times that we're living in, the pictures will be like this, won't they? Although it is all right, I think, to take your mask off for a photo, a lot of photographs will look like this, looking back on 2020. Algarve shaken by an earthquake as well. I mean, these are really sort of apocalyptic times, aren't they? Now the Algarve shaken by an earthquake measuring 3.8. Thank you to Michael Brujo, a name I haven't come across before, the PortugalResident.com. An earthquake measuring 3.8 on the Richter scale was felt through most of the Algarve yesterday, August the 4th. That was at 3 minutes past 7 in the evening. Its epicenter was located around 70 kilometers southwest of Albufeira, according to the Portuguese Sea and Atmosphere Institute, IPMA. Many people from across the Algarve reported having felt the earthquake. No damage has been reported. Algarve folk from our communities of expatsportugal.com and Good Morning Portugal. Did you feel that? Did you feel that tremor of what is it, 3.8 in the Algarve yesterday? Let me know if you did. Okay. I want to check in as well with the Portugal news in just a moment, but let's say a few more hellos. Hello from Ireland. Wow, Eugene McCrossan there with a lovely. That's a sort of profile pic we want on in the morning on Good Morning Portugal. Happy joy, happy joy. Thank you, Eugene. Great to hear from you. A new name, presumably from the expatsportugal.com community. Great to have your company. Joe Johnson, yes, from the lovely UK. Is that how it is over there? Give us a little bit of a picture, Joe, of how life is back in Blighty for those who may or may not be missing the old place here in Portugal. Morning, people, says Gary. Gary, thank you for your lovely shots this morning of the Alvarezera area. An early bird is Gary and often sends me an Ola Bon Dia picture from the area, and he sent me some corkers this morning. Quick to point out that no filter was required. The natural and stunning beauty of dawn in the Alvarezera area was captured beautifully by Gary, and they will grace your screen in due course. Hazel Smith, highest. Oh, hello, Hazel. Good morning from Teignmouth in Devon. Have a nice day. Thank you very much, Hazel. Great to see you here this morning. How are you? And how's John? Good morning from Fuzeta. I'm not familiar with that. Tell us more, Kevin. Kevin Hall checking in with a brilliant profile pic. A snog with COVID masks on. That's exactly the sort of thing I was talking about before. That will be in a family album one day, won't it? It's like, what was going on there? Well, sit down and we'll tell you all about 2020. It was a strange old time. It really was. But that's a brilliant photo, Kevin Hall. And tell us, please, more about Fuzeta. Are we going to check in there on our food tour of Portugal. I think we've got to start a little blog, the Hola Bon Dia food tour or something like that. And then we can meet up at various places, eat excellent food, excellent Portuguese food, have a few glasses of Portuguese wine, which I've got more to tell you about Portuguese wine today. I want to quickly go through the regions because the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club returns to your Facebook screens tonight. But I want to just do the regions very quickly of Portugal and tell you a little bit more about the Kalo language as well. Let's have a look. Bev is also here. Good morning from Anchan. Good morning to you, Bev. Great name. And are you new to the Good Morning Portugal live stream in association with Expats Portugal, expatsportugal.com? I believe you are, Bev. Well, I'm quarantined at my daughter's house, so the sun is shining and I'm having a fab time seeing my grandkids. Yeah, that's one of those things, isn't it, for expats? Lovely to get back to the old country. That's if you haven't managed to persuade your entire extended family to move out to Portugal as well. One of those lovely moments being back in the old country and hanging out with the grandkids. So have a super time. I'm sure you don't need any encouragement, Joe. That sounds wonderful. And what a great quarantine to have. Locked in with your grandkids. I bet they're loving it as well. Morning, Astrid. Astrid's here from Expats Portugal. Good morning to you, Astrid. We do, of course, we'll be meeting up again tonight, won't we, Astrid, as we do our webinar, our Portugal calling webinar, Expats Portugal. And myself, very happy to have Gilda Pereira from A Migrante as our special guest in the Portugal Calling Zoom event tonight. So you do need to register for that. But if you've got any questions around retiring in Portugal, about the visa process, specifically the D7, as it's known, Gilda is your expert. The webinar would be of interest for those living outside of the EU and or those planning to move to Portugal post-Brexit from the UK, unless they come up with a better system. It will the Brits will come through the same D7 process as everybody else outside the EU. So this is a chance to speak to an expert about that from 8 o'clock tonight. Register at the Expats Portugal event, which you'll find on the Expats Portugal page on Facebook. Open forum for the community. Get the answers you want and put the questions you want to put to Gilda tonight. Gilda Pereira from A Migrante. Okay, a few more hellos. Yes, Kevin says that picture was taken at our 25th wedding anniversary celebrations. Yeah, very fitting of the times, right? And a lovely one for the family album there, and something to explain to your grandkids one day, perhaps. Gary Austin, think we should change our profile picture to something from the past and how we look could be fun. Yes, Gary, lead the way. Love to see you in your flares, mate, and your big Tom Selleck tash or whatever you were sporting a few decades back. Or were you more of a new romantic in the 80s, perhaps? Let's see you in your Adam Ant fancy dress, maybe, or Spandau Ballet get-up when you're off out to a fancy dress party. Or maybe you dress like that all the time, just going into work, dressed up as a new romantic or whatever. Or a rude boy. Yeah, you actually strike me as a bit of a two-tone geezer, possibly more into the ska music. I don't know, Gary, just an intuition I have. And Anita, thank you for that idea, though, Gary. Yes, by all means, this is a great moment to change your profile pic and then have it aired across the whole community here. Please do that if you wish. Burda from Portuguese. Interesting. I'm not sure what that means. Is that like a version of Bon Dia, Burda, or is that Welsh? I'm not sure what that is from Portuguese. Anita Thomas, but great to have your company this morning. And this is great when we find out information of this kind. Fuseta, says Kevin, is a small fishing village located between Faro and Tavira on the eastern Algarve. So we learn something every day. That's what it's all about here, is finding out about Portugal, obviously. And that's a great bit of intel for us. So I'd not heard of Fuseta, but thank you very much for the update there, Kevin. Fantastic. Okay. Gary, I'm way off the mark with my aspersions about Gary and how he looked and dressed in the 70s and 80s. Well, tell us more. Oh, a heavy metal guy, right? Maybe. Yeah, that'll be my next guess anyway. Okay, let's have a look at the Portugal news then now. And we do have a fire alert, a forest fire alert to share with you, which is pretty important, obviously. Let me just share that with you on the screen. Portugal on alert. The Portugal news here, portugalnews.com, theportugalnews.com. And mainland Portugal will be on alert from the 6th of August, that's today, until 7th of August due to the forecast of a significant increase in the risk of rural fire, announced the government. In a statement, the Ministry of Internal Administration specifies that the alert situation lasts until 11:59 on August the 7th in the entire territory of mainland Portugal. So high alert here. Declaration follows the activation of special red state alert for the districts of. So special alert here in Bragança, Guarda, Villarreal, Beja, Castelo Branco, Faro, and Viseu. Be very careful. Fogos.pt is the site that will keep you up to date of what's going on as if fires do break out. God forbid they don't, but it is part and parcel to some extent of life living in Portugal. And Fogos.pt, Fogos.pt is a great way of finding out what's going on and the state of control of the blazes around the country, and what's being done in any specific location, i.e. the excuse me, the number of personnel, the number of fire tenders, and even aircraft that are being attending to this fire scene. So you be very careful out there, folks, and observe all the protocols for keeping fire to a minimum, obviously. Quick skim through portugalnews.com's coverage today, this morning. Their lead story, Portugal to present report to the UK to reverse quarantine decision. Nobody can really understand that, can they? And Portugal doing its utmost best at a governmental level to persuade the UK to drop the quarantine decision. And these things change, don't they, day to day? At any moment, I could just be like, okay, we're not doing that anymore. And it may well be as easy as that. Do you have a business here? Are you the sort of expat who's been in Portugal for a while? Do you have a business here? Actually, if you do, I mean, tell us about it here, on the live stream. And we were thinking actually of doing a kind of Dragon's Den thing where businesses, a lot of people come to Portugal wanting to start a business. And for what it's worth, we thought it might be a cool idea to pitch your business idea to the community here. Get a little bit of market research, maybe. See how it goes down. You often hear, don't you, of people, the most popular business in terms of the amount of people trying to do this is the retreat center, isn't it? The complementary therapy and yoga retreat center in a nice sunny part of Portugal. I'm all for it myself, but it tends to get a little bit of a bad press sometimes because of the sheer amount of people doing it. But it is a great country in which to start an enterprise of that kind. Why not? Why don't we get that idea off the ground, and we'll do a kind of Dragon's Den type thing? And the community here will tell you exactly what they think about your business idea. And, some of the more cynical ones will, I'll give it a year. And some of the others will be like, well, I tried that and it didn't work so well. What you might want to think about is this, that, or the other. And you'll get a few opinions and you'll get a bit of free market research, possibly here on the live stream. Let us know if you're thinking of starting a business. If you've already started one, this might be of interest to you from the portugalnews.com. 1 billion support line for micro and small businesses available from today. That was the 5th, yesterday, of August. The new line of support for micro and small businesses due to the COVID-19 pandemic with an allocation of 1 billion euros is available as of today. That was the 5th, according to a statement. In a press release, the SPGM, love all these acronyms in Portugal, the Sociedade de Investimento, the manager of the COVID-19 economy support line, micro and small enterprises, indicated that this line has an allocation of 1 billion euros, of which 700 million euros are intended for micro enterprises and 300 million to small businesses to support societies. Now, societies in Portugal, excuse me, that doesn't refer to society as we know it. That refers to a society as in a kind of like an NGO association, I suppose it might be called elsewhere. Like a small community-based operation. So this is to support societies affected by the pandemic. Part of the great community network, I think, personally, of Portugal. So some help here. Companies can obtain financing of up to 50,000 euros in the case of micro companies, or up to 250,000 euros in the case of small companies, for a maximum period of operation of up to 6 years, including 18 months of grace period and a guarantee of up to 90% of the outstanding capital, said SPGM. That's gone over my head a little bit. I think I'm a bit sort of dyscalculic, is that the right word? According to the statement, in order to qualify, companies will have to show an abrupt and sharp drop in at least 40% of their turnover. I don't think that will be difficult for a lot of companies, but certainly the ones based in tourism, and they will not have been able to benefit from previous mutual guarantee lines of credit created to support the normalization of business activity in the face of the pandemic outbreak of COVID-19. SPGM also warns that neither can they have been considered as companies in difficulty okay, so that's more of the technicalities. Let's not go into all of that, but suffice to say that some help is available for businesses if you've got one of those in Portugal that have been affected by the pandemic. Another sip of tea. Bear with me. Excuse me one moment. Right, okay, I'm back now. That's especially difficult for people listening on the podcast. We do have a podcast of this. Each video, each live stream is immortalized on YouTube and also on Spotify. You can find the audio as a podcast. Let me just finish off with the news there before I go to your comments. Let's have a look. The Portugal on alert, of course, with the fires. 1 billion support line we've just covered there. And there was one other thing I wanted to share with you. Oh, yeah, I think we've already done that with the earthquake. Anybody in the Algarve feel that yesterday? And a very strange article, Woodhenge discovered it in the prehistoric complex of Portuguese, which is, that's a really strange picture. It looks like one of those psychological tests. I know what I can see. Not sure about you. Archaeological excavations in the Portuguese complex in the Évora district have identified a unique structure in the prehistory of the Iberian Peninsula era archaeologia announced. So this might be Portugal's kind of Stonehenge, where pagans and druids and hippies and just people generally more in tune with the cycles of nature, perhaps you might say, flock on the solstices. Who knows? Maybe we will see you there, Mr. Cunningham, who I see in the comments this morning. Gary not saying any more about his fashion sense in the 70s and 80s. Maybe he'll just put a picture up and let that do the talking. Will Thompson, bon dia, getting addicted to this morning show for Wake Up and Laughs. What was it that got you started, Will Thompson, this morning in terms of waking up and laughs? Will Thompson, of course, one of our very early correspondents, probably our only serious early correspondent on the pandemic. And I'm glad to say, after lengthy negotiations between his management and mine, i.e. the two of us talking on Facebook Messenger, that Will be back with a Thompson Tuesday, but not in the morning. We'll be back in the evening. Good evening, Portugal. Thompson Tuesdays from next Tuesday, a deeper dive into all the issues around the pandemic. Now, Will called this early. Knows a bit or two about virology, and is a deep thinker and a deep researcher. And he was very quick to alert us to what was coming earlier on this year. And I think the curve, he was ahead of the curve. He helped us with our efforts to flatten the curve and the sort of information that we were giving out to help people do that. And I think now, why do I always cough when I'm talking about the pandemic? It's just hardwired now as a kind of Pavlovian response. Anyway, I think it's fair to say, and Will say for himself in the comments here, that I think he is perhaps overwhelmed with information, and it's not as clear to him as it first was. As is the same with most of us, right? So much information, so much conflicting information. We will endeavour to have a respectful and deep conversation about the pandemic and all the aspects. And I was going to say not confrontation, but we will broker opposing views and discuss them like respectful human beings. And we're doing that on Thompson Tuesday, for example, next Tuesday from 10 o'clock. So Thompson Tuesday's back, and I'm so glad, Will, to be able to do that, to have not just like a quick hit and run comment where people sort of pour out their ill feelings towards each other on social media. This will be a much more of a decent conversation about this and any other subject that's relevant to Portugal, to demonstrate that we can be respectful human beings who still like to have a conversation and discuss things at length and to hear other people's points of view. That's the idea anyway. Let's see how that goes. Joe Johnson thinks you were a rocker, Gary. Yeah, I'm going with that now. I think Gary had a a fragrant leather jacket or two. Back in the 70s and 80s. I can see him headbanging in my mind's eye. Bon dia from the Cotswolds, still trying to get back to Portugal as soon as possible. How is that for you, Jeff? What is the main barrier or difficulty that you're facing? Is it the prospect of, if you return, that you are faced with 2 weeks indoors, as we say back in the UK? Is that the main problem for you at the moment, Jeff? Always good to hear from you. Hola, amigo. Bom dia, tudo bem? Sí, consigo. John Cunningham, how are you, mate? Good to hear from you. And I think I know about John's fashion sense from the 70s and 80s. Well, he was a mere snip in the 70s. I think he is, but firmly immersed in young adult teen culture in the 80s. And some pictures of John would be awesome as well. You might have missed the beginning of that conversation, John. Gary suggesting that we put pictures of ourselves from earlier times in our Facebook profile so that we can see them on the screen here. Anna Powell, good morning to you. Another new name and a lovely, beautiful profile pic there. An Etsy kind of person, I'm thinking there, Anna Powell, if I'm doing interpretations of people's profile pictures, like some kind of psychic. Sarah Burke, good morning from sunny Penina in Algarve. Have a gorgeous day, everyone. What a fabulous greeting to share with everybody. Thank you, Sarah. Sarah Burke in sunny Penina in Algarve. There's a weather report and a glorious, gorgeous greeting for everybody as well. There you go. Have a laugh at my expense. Oh, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Who is this? Can you zoom in on your device and tell us what on earth Gary was thinking? Look at that. He's got a very lustrous and impressive barnet for sure. A little bit of hairy chest showing. Mustard coloured jacket. What were you? Were you a crooner or an entertainer around the clubs, Gary? Handsome devil with an incredible fashion sense there. Nice mix of sort of gold mustard and black shirt. It's a brave man who can pull off a black shirt, I have to say. Very good, Gary. Excellent. Who's next? Involved in a new business in Porto. Delighted to be putting something back into the Portuguese economy. Good on you, Jeff. Hell, someone's got to, haven't they? You know, I describe this as the elephant in the room. You know, people not talking about I had a hilarious conversation with a young woman at Aviva Pensions yesterday. I'm claiming a pension now because I know it's hard to believe, but I'm of that age where I can draw down a sum of money that I, in better times, back in the 80s, when that picture was taken of Gary, I put some money aside when I was a lot more sensible, and it's matured. It's not a big amount of money, but this young woman asked me what I intended to do with it. I thought I was a bit affronted at first. They go, well, hold on a minute, it's none of your business what I do with the money. But they're really uptight about, you know, whether I've had decent advice and if I'm going to waste it, I think, or something like that. And that's also my business, isn't it? But I said to her, look, you know, you've asked me in good faith. I'll tell you in good faith. What? And this is a personal view, okay? All my views here are personal. You know, I don't speak for anyone except myself here. By the way, that's what I want to say to you. And what I said to her was, when she asked me what I was going to, why I was taking the money out and what I was going to do with it, I said, well, I think there's my language was quite colourful actually, which I apologised for. I mean, you know, I wasn't insulting to her, but this was to make my point. I was talking about a particular kind of economic storm. Let you put two and two together on that, the like of which we've not seen for many decades, worse than 2008. I think that's what's in the pipeline. So my money in my pension, as pitiful and small as it is, although useful, I'm not, you know, not doing it down, but it's not a massive amount of money that's going to change my life significantly. It's just going to plug a gap for a little while, you know, as these things often do. And I said, you know, the reason I want the money is because I think there's a really big crash coming. You know, the economic impact of the pandemic will be very significant and severe. And I think the investment will be far greater in land and buildings, intangible things, and having it as you know, conceptual money subject to the vagaries and ups and downs of the financial market. I said, I bet not many people have said that to you, have they? She said, no, actually not that many this week. But to me, like I say, I think it's the elephant in a room at the moment. And I think it's really important that, you know, people like Jeff Leyland here are investing, you know, like putting some money into the economy, overseeing projects, presumably at first hand, rather than having your money out there somewhere in a pension fund, not knowing what on earth is going on with it. So good on you, Jeff. good on you. And I think that's another one of those conversations we may well have in the evening as well about the shape of things to come and how we're going to prepare for it. We are inventive and amazing and entrepreneurial and brilliant, quite brilliant, aren't we? The human race in so many ways, despite all the bad press you see, we're incredible in so many ways, and we can, in the right circumstances, cope and excel in any difficulties, challenges that come our way. It's just about how we do that, isn't it? And how we work together and how we collaborate and how we organize ourselves. Anyway, I'll stop banging. That was a bit of a rant, wasn't it? Will, indeed, the information coming out is ridiculous at times. This is about the pandemic. It's not clear to anyone. Can't blame anyone for being confused. I don't have any hair left to pull. So you'll be able to see Will pulling what is left of his hair out on Thompson Tuesdays from 10 o'clock. Here on the Good Morning Portugal live stream. Hola, bon dia, beautiful people. Owen, look, I don't think you were in early, but I'm just going to cut the sound and show your picture. Your wonderful hoopoes shot that you took, presumably in Villa de Rey. How are you this morning? And thank you for that lovely greeting to everybody. Okay, let's going to move away from the economics and towards wine. That's quite a set piece, isn't it, for us human beings? Not think about tricky and difficult stuff. Let's just talk about and drink wine instead. The Good Morning Portugal Wine Club returns tonight with the most expensive bottle of wine I've ever bought, and looking forward to tasting tonight. And John Cunningham, I think, in response to my rant there, said, "Careful what you ask for, Carl." It's interesting, John, isn't it? I don't think I'm asking for it. I mean, in some senses I am. I think we live in a very unjust world. When you think of the amount of people who are just starving and don't need to, for example. And I'm not going to get too heavy here, everybody. But there's room for improvement, isn't there, in how we run things on this planet. And before the pandemic, it wasn't like the economy was serving people in a way that it might, more elegantly and beautifully and more, generally. The shape of things would appear to be that the rich are getting richer and poverty is more and more widespread. There's something not quite right with our economic system. Wouldn't mind a transformation around that, John. So I guess I'm asking for that. But, I don't wish anyone any hardship at the moment. My heart goes out to people, for what it's worth, who and I believe that the suffering and the struggle is felt on a very personal and private basis. We see the news and we see numbers, but all of the difficulties, recessions and so on, I felt very personally and privately in people's homes and in families. And for that reason alone, I think we can do a better job. And I think on a much more positive note, us human beings are here to enjoy our lives, our brief time on this earth. In this, looking out of my window, so much of the earth is so beautiful and we could enjoy it so much more, yet we've got a strange set of priorities and a very odd economic system. Enough said about that for the time being. I think that is more talk for the evening. And there I am ranting on again. And what John actually meant is not what I'm asking for economically, but pictures of him in the 70s and 80s. Come on, John. Now you said that, you must share with us. Okay, let's move on to wine now. And I want to take you through the districts, the wine producing areas of Portugal. I love this. I found this morning. And this is from winesofportugal.info. Again, a bit difficult for people on the podcast, but it's a really nice way of just detailing for you I'll do my best to paint pictures for you on the podcast, but look at this lovely map here. I'd love one of these, actually, full size, in one of the rooms of my home. The Vinha Verde region, northwest, where the wonderful Costa Verde is as well. Did you know about the Costa Verde here in Portugal? Little known and underestimated. Obviously a little bit cooler than a lot of the rest of Portugal, but you can have an amazing beach day out. If the wind's not too strong and we're in the summer, you can have a beautiful time at the Costa Verde up there in the northwest of Portugal, in the Vinha Verde region, of course. And Vinha Verde wines are famous, and they can be found, I think, also as well in Trás-os-Montes, which is a lovely phrase. Another wine producing area, that's the northeast. South of that, we go into Porto and the Douro and the Dow regions, which are probably the most famous, aren't they? I mean, along with Vinha Verde, Douro and Dow are wine-producing regions that are known internationally. Bairrada less so. This is where I sit this morning, in the Bairrada region, wine-producing region, famous for its Baga grape. And I did a live stream from the wine shop, the Rota de Bairrada wine shop the other day. There are more wines here than there are days in the year. And that's just in one region of Portugal. And this is why I'm so passionate about Portuguese wine. I think it's just so underestimated. But actually, I think part of that is because the Portuguese don't really want to export too much of it and want to enjoy it here at home. So there's Bairrada in the west coast. We head inland to the interior of the Dow producing region, and the Beira interior bordering with Spain to the west there. South of that, get to more familiar territory again with the wine producing regions of Lisboa and the peninsula of Setúbal, and the Tejo and Alentejo producing areas, and then right down there to the south from the western coast to the eastern frontier, all of the Algarve and its wine producing glory with all that sunshine. And of course, not forgetting the Azores and Madeira as well, who of course produce wines too. Part of our mission on the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club, which is back again tonight under the leadership of the hiccuping headmistress, Louise Healy, who is teaching us about wine, how to really appreciate and taste it. A lot of us are just like a sort of, fairly good value bottle of red or white and might gulp it a bit and just like the effect. But what Eloise is doing is teaching us a great deal of subtlety about all sorts of wines. And basically, we're taking a tour of Portugal via its wine producing regions. And tonight, after 10, we are in that area I mentioned, the peninsula de Setúbal. This is where José Mourinho comes from, isn't it? The most famous son, possibly, of Setúbal. And then we are trying a wine there, which sounds a lot like bacalhau, but it's bacalhau, is the producer. And as I say, it's quite an expensive one. So I'm really looking forward to. I think you can still buy it today if you want to join us. Go to the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club community to see the specifics of the wine and where you might track it down. And then enjoy it with us on the screen tonight here in this place, the Good Morning Portugal live stream on the Good Morning Portugal Facebook page. We might even simulcast that to Expats Portugal as well. I'm going to check with Jerry and Astrid if they're happy about people drinking wine live on Facebook on their page. Okay, let's go back to your comments. We're going to round up now, but to get comments in if you wish before we conclude today. Oh yeah, I wanted to tell you, didn't I, about the Caló language. We mentioned it yesterday when we were talking about Katia Lima's two excellent phrases, one for scrumping, the other for smelly feet. Check out the show yesterday, should you need those two bits of vocabulary, and often you do, is a mixed language, the Caló, referred to as this is really Boffinish, in Boffinese, referred to as a para-Romani Romani language in Romani linguistics based on Romance grammar, with an adstratum of Romani lexical items through the language shift by the Romani community. I hope you kept up with that. Okay, back to your comments. What part of Portugal are you in? If you're talking to me there, Andrew, I am in, a lot of expats come from the areas you've heard of, right? Or are living in the areas you've heard of. Down in the Algarve, in central, a lot of the homesteader types, the off-gridders are in central Portugal. I've not by design really, but I find myself in the Aveiro district, but in quite an unsung and unknown part, near a town called Anadia. I was first in a little town called Coria, which is really marvelous and a joy to behold. Go to I set up a little website for it, cometocoria.com. Let me just put that in the links for you. Coria is amazing. It is a Belle Epoque Art Deco town, really famed and famous from about the 1920s, and a really important part of Portuguese history and culture, I think. And I've moved from there just 5-10 minutes up the road to a town called Anadia on the outskirts, and it's it does all the tick boxes for what we want as a family in Portugal, basically. So Aveiro district, Anadia is the town, and just really good location on a railway line. You can feel like you're in the country. I look out of my window now, I can see vineyards, but I can also see signs of civilization, not too much out in the sticks, which is what I thought I wanted when I first came to Portugal, actually, was to be in the middle of nowhere. But this really suits us. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. But on the economy, I have wanted collapse of the current system for a while, says John, which is also a bit of a clue to what he would have looked like in the 70s and 80s. Punk is not dead. It lives on in Foz de Aurelio. My place is in the Douro region. Love wine. You're a lucky man. And I do want to visit the Douro region. I want to drive that road, that famous road, famed for its beauty and, of course, being in the incredible wine-producing region that is the Douro. Yeah, lucky man, Andrew. Sounds great. Yes, want one. What was that, John? We talk about so many things here and so quickly that I'm not sure what you want. Was it a bottle of wine you want? I want to see some pics from Pete. Yeah, Peter Wilton Davis and Ferry. Yes, I do too. This could be quite a nice little feature, actually. A little bit of a self-indulgence from the 70s and 80s. I could do that. I could do that. I could think of a picture I'll share with you. From my music biz days, actually. Yay, wine club tonight. Rachel Tamarão. Please be kind with me and my pronunciation. I hope that I got that okay, Rachel. Tamarão. Yay, wine club tonight. You're joining us. I hope you are. John Cunningham says, lovely Moscatel from Setúbal. Is there a way I can send you? Is there a way I can send you? I'm not sure. Is there a way you can send me a bottle of Douro wine? Yes, there certainly is. I'll PM you my address. Do you want to send a picture of you from the 70s? We talked about so many things this morning. I don't know what this refers to, Andrew. Enlighten me a little bit. And yes, you can send me pretty much anything. FD and I. It's that, Rachel. Almost missed out. We will not be missing out tonight. Looking forward to your company tonight, Rachel. Didn't realize that was you. But yes, love to you and Frank. And love it. I think it's as an endorsement from Astrid that we will stream the wine tasting tonight on Expats Portugal, which could be interesting. Is there a way I can send you? Oh, we go. Is there a way I can send you a picture? It's wine related. Is there an email? There absolutely is. I'll put that in the comments now. I wanted to give that to you because I think it's all very well, isn't it? You know, posting stuff in the comments. But if there is anything you want to send me, an idea about the show, some feedback or whatever, or as Andrew's suggesting here, a wine-related picture, please do, or friend me up on Facebook. I'm a bit of a floozy when it comes to friends on Facebook. Send me a friend request, and we can do it that way. More about Courier there. Come to courier.com as well. And, I've put it under Expats Portugal. That's fine. Carl@carlmunson.com is my email address. It sounds like I've been drinking wine already. And I promise you I haven't. Not a bad shout, Carl. Dreadlocked anarcho space punk hippie. We have to see a picture of that. Do we not? Come on. Send it in, John, or just change your profile pic for a moment, or email it to me and I'll share it with everybody. You're talking about the N222 road. It's a beautiful drive. You know exactly the one I'm talking about there, Andrew. Yeah. I really want to do that. And, it was on my list for a possible place to live, the Douro. Tell me, how severe are your winters? This is important information, I think, for anyone wanting to move to Portugal, Andrew. It's about, that big question. Do you want to spend your time mainly cooling down? And I'll say this again and again, because I think it's such a key question when it comes to moving to Portugal. But do you want to spend most of your time staying cool, or do you want to spend most of your time warming up? And now I suspect in the Douro, in the winter, it's the latter. And you do have to figure out how to stay warm for quite a lot of the year, in the evenings and so on, and in the deep midwinter. Obviously not as grim as Northern Europe, where many of us are from here. But what's it like this is a serious question for you, Andrew, and we can pick this up tomorrow. We can continue to discuss this. But what are your winters like in the Douro region there where you have your home? Okay, I think we should leave it there. 9:45 already, everyone. We'll be back tonight, Portugal calling, and talking specifically about the visa process, the D7 on Portugal calling. from 8 until 9 with Gilda Pereira. She'll be joining us, and she is an expert on the matter, and we'll have a nice, friendly conversation chat. But you'll need to register for that. Go find the event on both the Good Morning Portugal and Expats Portugal pages on Facebook. Register and join us. It's all done on Zoom, and the last two we've done have been a lot of fun and very informative. And then the last thing I want to share with you today is, of course, we are launching the Good Evening Portugal franchise, I'm going to call it tonight. And I'm just going to share with you. This is, if you want to support the Good Morning Portugal enterprise, and just what we've been doing is suggesting you buy us a packet of seeds. It's crowdfunded, what I do here. And you can do it here at coffee.com. That's ko-fi.com/Carl Munson. But I'm going to my blog there, where you can show your support for the show if you wish, just to show you tonight. Look, Good Evening Portugal. It's a chance after maybe a couple of glasses of wine, and certainly tonight. Thursdays will always be the wine club at 10. But after that, a chance to talk respectfully, with relevance to life in Portugal. And I'm happy to twist that a little bit to all aspects of the human experience and condition, and of course, keeping it legal. But apart from that, shall we demonstrate that we can have a robust and respectful discussion about just about anything, because there are some serious issues afoot in the world at the moment. Let's show that we can be grown-ups and have a conversation and see each other's point of view, agree to differ, beg to differ, or even come to some sort of consensus. That's the idea for the new Good Evening Portugal conversation. Open-ended, but starting at 10. And tonight, of course, as with every Thursday, weekly now, the Wine Club with Eloise Healy. So really looking forward to that as well. Thanks for being with me this morning. Really appreciate it. And you've been very, very good. I mean, I think it's amazing that you give your attention for such a long time. And for me, it whizzes by this 3/4 of an hour. But thank you so much for your time and attention and choosing to spend your time and morning with me this morning. See you again tomorrow. Até amanhã. Até já. Até logo. Até a próxima. And ciao, ciao. Abrazos. Beijinhos. Take care. Bye for now.